Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. We have another great show planned for you. As always, Dan Dickerson will be joining us shortly for the mailbag interviews with West Michigan Whitecaps broadcaster Dan Hasty. The Athletics' Cody Stavenhagen will join us to talk some Tigers. University of Michigan head coach Mel Person joins us. He's got some great prospects on his team coming up in the NHL entry draft, so we'll learn a lot from him. And of course, Tigers pitcher Jason Foley will join Art for the headliner and more. Make sure wherever you're watching today, you put in the comments any thoughts, comments, even where you're from. We'll try to shout you out throughout the entire show. So let's bring in my co-host Art Regner and get this show on the road. Art, how are you doing today?
I am doing extremely well, Danielle. I feel great. I'm ready to go. I mean, it's a word on Woodward. Tigers won a ball game, and the NHL draft is not that far away, so there's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about, Art, and I know that we're going to spend the whole show talking a lot about Tigers, and I know you were really excited to talk to Mel Person. We talked to him on Monday, and everybody will get to see that interview today, so it was a lot of fun. Without further ado, let's get right into the big three presented by Chevy so we can kick this show off and start talking everything we have to talk today, and we'll start with that Tigers game. Art mentioned that they picked up a win last night, beat the Mariners 5-3 at Comerica Park. It was the first game that the Tigers were open full capacity at Comerica Park, which is really, really exciting. So on top of that, they pick up the win. Robbie Grossman had a leadoff double. The Tigers would score early. Miguel Cabrera had an RBI single, but Eric Haas has to be the story of the Tigers lately. He had another home run last night, Art. That means 6 home runs in his last 6 games.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I've been thinking a lot about Eric Haas because from what I understand, I know he went to Dearborn Divine Child High School, but he grew up right down the street from me in Livonia and Westland here. And he just looks like he's reached a comfort level with himself. He seems to be at peace in himself. He's playing for his hometown team. He played for the Cleveland Indians, which I think was a really good experience for him. They were a high caliber club. He saw what it takes to win. He saw what it is to be a professional. So he learned from some of the best down there in Cleveland. And then he came here to Detroit. I was excited when they traded for him. I think they traded for him. I should know that off the top of my head. I can't remember. But I just think that we're seeing a guy here that's just enjoying life. He's home. He's wearing Lance Parrish's number 13, his favorite player, his family's favorite player. I mean, it's all just coming together for him. And, you can tell, he's just comfortable. And when you're comfortable and you're playing, you're having fun and you're not thinking about it, boom, good things happen. 8 home runs, 6 out of his 6 last games, he's hitting homers. On the road, he was hitting like two in every game. I think last night was his first one at Comerica Park. So it's great. Local kid, I'm happy for him.
Yeah, he's really making that catching position interesting too with Wilson Ramos, obviously, and then you've got Jake Rogers and now Eric Haas really finding his offensive game. So it's just interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how the Tigers utilize all 3 of them moving forward.
Well, it's a good position to have. I don't know of a major league manager or a major league coach or anything that says, boy, filling out my lineup card's pretty easy. Then your team's probably not very good unless it's all-stars. So it's making it tough on the Tigers. And that's what you want. Especially a team that's in a rebuild right now. You want tough decisions. You want to make difficult choices. Let's face it. And Jacoby Jones isn't on the club anymore. Here was a guy that we were really counting on. Remember when he got hurt last year? Second year in a row, he had that got hit by a pitch on the wrist. Now, the team, I don't know if it's a sign getting better. And of course, we wish Jacoby the best. And, A.J. Hinch said he could eventually come back. But that's what I'm talking about. That was not an easy decision. It's not, A.J. Hinch has had some very difficult decisions and very difficult conversations with Tiger players. If you're a Tiger fan, you love those conversations. You want to put him in that position. You want to see him make those decisions. That just means the team's getting better.
Our Jonathan Scope also added an RBI last night. He has been playing pretty well too. And then Akil Baddoo, who everybody was really high on all the way up until this point this season. We're still pretty high on him as well. It's been a good year for the kid. And he showed off his defense yesterday with a pretty awesome catch.
Well, Akil Badu, look the ground that he covers, and he just stretches out. That's a real tough sun field at that point. And that's why I guess I'm against daylight savings time. By the way, it screws up the outfield at Comerica Park.
Baseball.
Yeah. You know what I mean? If we were still where we should be, an hour ahead or something, that play, he'd be flawless out there. He misjudged a ball yesterday. I'm just kind of joking around, but I will say this: he has speed, he has flash, and the big thing I like about Akil Badu is that he started off hotter than hot, and then he kind of cooled down. And, he's slowly but surely learning that game. I've always liked his makeup because of Tommy John surgery. It can't get any worse than where he's come from. So, he's got a really good head on his shoulder. He makes adjustments, and I really, really do like his game. I love his speed. I think he's 6 for 6 for stolen bases. And he showed it again. That ball should not probably have been caught. But when you have an exceptional outfielder that has speed, boom, there's the play was made. So Akil Badu, keep it going, fella. And he has power too. That's a good Rule 5 pickup.
Yeah. And it's funny on that play, I'm watching it thinking he's going to trip and fall, right? Like he's just moving so fast. He reaches out so far to catch that ball and somehow he maintains his balance. I was like, wow, look at that athleticism, because geez.
He had misjudged the ball earlier, I think in the same inning.
I know.
Or the inning before, right. And, I think it was a fly ball hit right to him in the sun field because of daylight savings time. And he, he just stretched. I am sure when that ball was hit, he was convinced. He convinced himself, unless this ball's hit out of the park or it's foul, I'm going to catch the thing, and he did. He used every ounce of energy and speed and desire that he had in his body to make that play. That's why Akil Badu's a keeper.
Akil, don't worry. We're going to figure out who we have to contact about daylight savings, and this won't happen to you for much longer. Don't worry. Just get through this season, okay?
Kick it back an hour.
All right,
is it an hour? I get all mixed up.
It's an hour.
Spring forward, fall backward. Right, there we go.
There you go. You got it. Now we'll move on to our second topic of today's Big Three, daylight savings. No, I'm just kidding. Clubhouse notes. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Tigers did, some transactions that they made. Spencer Turnbull and Michael Fulmer are on the 10-day IL, so hopefully that's nothing too serious. Jacoby Jones has been designated for assignment. Jeimer Candelario is on a bereavement list, and Jason Foley and Isaac Paredes were obviously called up. I know in unfortunate circumstance for Jeimer Candelario, of course, we wish him and his family the best, but we were excited to see Isaac Paredes make his debut this season.
Well, I'm a big Paredes fan. He has the body type that guys like me just enjoy looking at. He has power. He's a great player. He can field very, very well. He made some nice plays defensively, but I just like his girth and his bulk. And, and I really think that here's a guy again, and this is a key because this is going to happen during a rebuild. Guys are going to go up and down, and it's how they react to that. Sure, he was disappointed. But, he stayed at Toledo. He worked on his game. He's now up. And I think A.J. Hinch, again, it'll be interesting when we have Cody Stavenhagen on because I really want to ask him about this. I think A.J. Hinch is very open with these fellas. I think he tells it, like it is to them. And I think that they believe him. So when he sends the guy down, he knows it isn't what he wants to hear because, quite frankly, probably during his major league career as a player, A.J. Hinch was on the opposite end of that conversation. He was being sent down, or he wasn't playing a lot in the majors, so he understands it. He gets it. I think he's able to translate that. And for young players to hear that from a guy who has empathy but is stern and tells them what they need to do to get there, I think it works. That's why I think every time a Tiger player comes up here from Toledo, I think that they're mentally ready, they're mentally prepared. And and I know we're not supposed to talk about this, but Joe Jimenez too. The way he's working him, to build up his confidence, I think that's, A.J. Hinch, great manager, and I think it's showing.
Art, Jason Foley, he's our headliner today. You talked to him the other day, earlier this week. Can you give us a little preview? I know that obviously he got the call up. We haven't seen him yet, but What do you think?
Flamethrower Foley. I'm telling you, I mean, this guy, I mean, he brings the heat. He has 4 pitches and change up a slider, 2-seamer, and the heat. I think again we talked about Eric Haas living the dream and being here and in his hometown team. When you look at Foley's story, I mean, it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. When they called him up, I've got to be honest, and I thought I knew the Tigers fairly well or their roster. It's like, who is this guy? Did this guy win a contest or something? Hey, you can pitch for the Tigers? You know what I mean? Where did he come from? And then when you read more and more about it, he's a guy you root for. So, he's real interesting. A man of few words, I will say that. It reminded me of interviewing the Swedish hockey players when they first arrived to North America. If even Nick was like this. If you're going to ask a question to somebody who's still getting his chops wet about how the media works and answering questions, you better have 400 questions because your answers are going to be succinct and short, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but Jason Foley, I think next year when we talk to Flamethrower Foley, he's going to be a little more gregarious, as I like to say. But he was good. He's good. I mean, he tells – and Zach Short, his relationship with Zach Short, what the Tigers did to allow Short to watch him pitch, they go back to teammates at Sacred Heart University. So it's a good interview. He's a real good guy.
Well, we're excited to hear that. We will hear from Jason Foley later in today's show. And we have to mention, too, Miguel Cabrera playing in 2,500 games. That is so many games. I can't even fathom that. But we're always talking about a Miguel Cabrera milestone on this show, it feels like. And we will talk about that a lot more with Dan Dickerson joining us for the mailbag very shortly. And I do want to remind you guys that the Tigers are hosting a COVID-19 vaccine clinic. The clinic will open through this weekend series against the Chicago White Sox. Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson vaccines will be available, and fans receiving a vaccine will receive a voucher good for 2 tickets to either that day's Tigers game or an upcoming 2021 regular season game at Comerica Park, and a $10 Meijer coupon. The pop-up clinic will open 3 hours before first pitch and operate through the 3rd inning or 1 hour after the game begins. Interested fans are encouraged to schedule their appointment online in advance or by calling the McLaren COVID-19 vaccine hotline at 810-344-4050 between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Walk-ups will also be welcomed, but scheduling in advance is highly encouraged to ensure availability. So make sure you are all checking that out. A great opportunity for you to get vaccinated if you have not been vaccinated already. So I know that's a great thing for the community. Again, make sure you check that out online or call the McLaren hotline to make sure you schedule your appointment in advance. And with that being said, we're going to move on to our third and final topic of today's Big Three, Art, NHL playoffs. Boy, have they been exciting. We already have Montreal and Tampa Bay that will be in the semis. I know you're probably bummed that Carolina was knocked out by Tampa Bay, but I think it was expected. New York can clinch tonight over Boston. And Vegas, your Golden Knights, Art, they have to be the story right now. They have taken a 3-2 series lead over Colorado, and that series has been back and forth. Colorado takes 2 at home. Vegas takes 2 at home, and then Vegas came away with that overtime game-winning goal last night. So it was a really exciting game. It's been an exciting series. And I know you're watching that one really closely.
Well, I definitely am. I just want to say this. I hated him when he was an Ottawa Senator, but I love him as the Vegas Golden Knight. That's Stone, man. Mark Stone is an excellent player. And Max Pacioretty, and I'm not saying this because he's a good old Michigan Wolverine, but that pass he made to spring him, I mean, that overtime goal was beautiful. Vegas, this is why I like Vegas so much. They're never out of any game. They were down, and I've been to we used to call it the Bottle Cap. It was the Pepsi Center way back when the Red Wings used to play them in the playoffs, the Western Conference Final and all that. I just want to say this. That place is loud. Those people are nuts. Those people are crazy. They're great fans. They love their Avalanche. They're up 2-0. But what happens in the third? Vegas scores 2 goals, and boom, boom, boom. They switch momentum. They switch momentum, and Marc-Andre Fleury. We talk about the Golden Knights. I keep saying that there should be a book written about them. But, they should engrave, when the Knights win the cup this year, they should engrave the Pittsburgh Penguins in really small letters too as part of it, because for them leaving him unprotected to go to Vegas, that's why Vegas is so good. That's allowed George McPhee to make all those moves. They're just excellent. I want to say this too. You know how we kept questioning when the Red Wings were playing Tampa at the end of the year, when's Vasilevsky going to play? When's Vasilevsky going to play? And they were resting him for like, I don't know, it seemed like the last 3 weeks of the season. They didn't care if they won the Central or not. Well, best goalie in the world, hands down. I mean, that's why, you know, Tampa is going to be a tough out. Vegas is going to be a tough out. But once you get there, you know, the Islanders with Trotz, don't underestimate them. And Montreal is riding the wave of momentum. I mean, these playoffs have been great.
Yeah, they have been. Montreal might be the most interesting, or not. I shouldn't say most interesting, but the fact that they sweep Winnipeg and now they've just looked really good. And you mentioned goaltending in Vasilevsky. How about Carey Price? He's the one that's carrying Montreal right now too.
Right. Well, you know, that's the story though. And you know, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you who has been really, really impressive for the Canadians in his short body of work. And you know, here he is right here. He's going to get this puck here. Beat Andrew Kopp, little 22 there, number 9, who's a Michigan Wolverine, sets up the game-winning goal and eliminates him. Tyler Toffoli, always loved him as a King, loved him as a Canuck. But what I'm going to say is that Cole Caulfield, and, you know, he's like 5'4", and I'm not exaggerating, but there he is. Boom, he takes the puck. What a pass. Bam. He's been great. He could be the difference maker for Montreal because he's offensively gifted, highly skilled player. So Cole Caulfield and what he's been able to do in a short body of work, very, very impressive for Montreal.
And I think everybody watching might be rooting for the Islanders tonight too, because they could clinch over Boston. I think I'd be really happy to see the Islanders take that one.
Well, Bruce Cassidy, the Boston coach, quit your whining, fella. I mean, they're the New York Saints. I mean, come on, buddy. I mean, Bruce, and he's a former Griffins coach. You know, I mean, he has a little tie to our area to the organization here. It's like, fella, you know, I'm telling you, when you do that, you're not influencing anybody, but just creating a whole wave of people who just want to see your team lose. Yeah, right. And that's where the Bruins are right now.
Here in Detroit, we always like to see Boston lose, but now even more, I'm like, all right, the Islanders can take it tonight. Let's see it. Let's do it.
Calm down, fella. The New York Saints. You know, hey, everybody about consistency. You know that. I understand that. I get that. Maybe he has a bit of a point. I don't know, but geez, come on.
You got to think of it as a coach. He's doing what he thinks he needs to do for his team, right? And I mean, if that's the move he felt like he needed to make, then so be it. We'll see what happens in tonight's game. I know I will be rooting for the Islanders. That's all said and done. Okay, well, that wraps it up for today's Big Three. Art. We'll talk more about the NHL playoffs as they continue. A big thanks to Chevy for presenting the Big Three. Chevy cares. That is why Chevy Clean dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC-approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. And now we're going to get into the mailbag delivered to you by Little Caesars. Today's guest is Dan Dickerson, the Tigers radio play-by-play announcer. It's always great to have Dan on the show. Dan, how are you doing today?
Great. How you guys doing? I just want to say I thought it was a very moving appeal from Coach Cassidy for fairness, and I empathize with him. I sent him a little pick-me-up bouquet, and I think it might make a difference.
Right, and the league only fined him $25,000 for saying it. So you know, yeah.
I wonder if he was thinking that while he's up there talking. He's like, "Oh man, I wonder how much this statement's going to cost me." But hey, you know what, Dan? I agree with you. It could definitely help in the long run. So
you can tell he knew. Wait, I think I'm going too far. Oh, the Islanders they're a great team. They're a great team. You know, he said that, and then he kept going into his little mini tirade. Classic, very classic.
That's all right. Yeah, we'll see how it works out for him. Time will tell, right? But we'll get into our mailbag questions. The first one today is for Dan. John from Brighton asks, Tarek Skubal has been unbelievable lately. How long can he keep his 8+ strikeout streak going?
I think the A-plus strikeout streak is nice, but what it's an indicator of is all the improvements that he is making really start by start. And this 6-game stretch for him goes back exactly to the time when he junked the splitter and went to the changeup. I mean, it really is. It's because what that did, and we've talked about it, it gave him more life on the fastball because when you finish out front with your changeup, you finish better with your fastball. Look at that game against the Chicago White Sox over the weekend. I know he only went 5, but that was an offense that pushed the pitch count up with some 2-strike fouls. It was great strike throwing, 72 strikes, 103 pitches. There are 2 at-bats in that game that show you just how far he is advancing in using that fastball. He doesn't have to throw 97, 98. He's got it in his back pocket. 2 on, 3rd inning. It was Abreu at the plate. Tight game, obviously, early on. And he strikes him out with 3 straight swing and miss fastballs. It was a beautiful sight. 5th inning, his last inning, 2 on, 2 out for Moncada. Those are the 2 most dangerous hitters in this lineup, along with Tim Anderson, and he strikes him out. There was a fastball involved, but I think he got him with a slider. Either way, the way he's using his pitch is understanding that at 93, 95, his four-seam fastball plays up. It gets swings and misses. He's got 97 in his back pocket up to 98. And I just love watching this kid game by game, making adjustments, learning how to sequence, learning how to use this stuff. I won't put any cap on how long this streak might go, but the strikeouts are an indicator with a low walk rate of just how far he's progressing and how fast he's progressing.
Dan, I know you've had to be pretty excited lately, especially last night at Comerica Park. I know the weather probably played a factor in how big the crowd was last night, but
Right.
We're going to see full Comerica Park soon enough, and you've got to be excited to call games there and, of course, watch Tarek Skubal pitch in front of a full crowd.
It was fun sitting in the dugout yesterday, and you realized, first of all, they took that extension away from the dugout. They'd extended about 4 feet to give more shade and more protection in the dugout. They took that away, and to watch the faces of the players coming in the dugout, like Skubal and Mize, they both came out and looked at it like, this is different. What's going on here? And you realize they hadn't seen the dugout like that, which is how it was for the first 20 years until last year. And they've never seen a full house. They've never seen a full house at Comerica Park. It may take a while. But it was just a great reminder. These guys haven't seen this ballpark full. They hadn't seen that dugout the way it was the first 20 years. They haven't been here very long. So, yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see this place packed. And, Mai's on the mound tonight. And these are the starting matchups that bring crowds out, right? We're going to look forward to every one of his starts, every one of Skubal's starts in the years ahead. And that's going to bring the fans out because they are must watch right now.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm actually going to be down at the ballpark tonight for the game, Dan, and tomorrow for tomorrow's game too. So I'm excited to see if we get a much bigger crowd at Comerica Park. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. Slowly but surely, it'll happen.
Yes, yep. It will. We'll move on to question 2 now, and this one is for Art. Thomas from Waterford asks, was excited watching 6th pick Zadina and Sider rip it up in the World Championships. Which position do you think the Wings will take in the draft? So what positional player will they draft?
Well, I will say this. Unless Owen Power drops to them at 6 or possibly Luke Hughes, I think that they're going to go with a forward. I really think they do need goaltending. Now, I'm going to throw in this caveat, though. If the player, highly skilled goaltender that they don't think is going to be there, and, a guy I'm liking more and more is Kent Johnson from Michigan. But if Manny Berniers is there at 6, definitely take him. But I keep going back to Jesper Wallstedt, the goaltender. I just think that if he is the real deal, and it might be a little too high. If they would have been 8, I would have went with Wallstedt all day. I still think that deep down, and you saw Vasilevsky and what he's doing in Tampa, best goalie in the world. I think that guy, doesn't he look like David Hasselhoff? I don't know. I'm obsessed with Jesper Wallstedt. I mean, he looks like it's his son or something, And Hasselhoff, I think, is German too, right? Or no, but he's Swedish. Anyway, I don't know. I'm just saying that Wallstedt could be the real deal. I think deep down, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think deep down, Steve would like to have a young, promising goaltender in the system. They have some guys that they like. I don't know what Keith Petruzzelli's up to, what he's going to do. I think if they do sign him, I would expect him to be in Grand Rapids and compete for the #1 job. But, I think the Red Wings are going to take a goaltender early. If Wallstedt's a real deal, maybe they take him at 6. If not, I think they take a high-end forward.
Okay, so it's goaltender, if not a goaltender, a high-end forward.
Yeah, definitely. Unless
okay.
Owen Power and Luke Hughes, you never know. You never know in this thing. And plus you have the expansion draft a couple of days later or a couple of days before on the 22nd, where Seattle, the Kraken are going to be picked, or the 21st. The Kraken are going to have a team. They're going to lose guys. So who knows how that will impact the draft too. You just don't know, but with Steve, you never know. That's the thing. God only knows what he's going to do. He might say, you know what, we don't like anybody at the 6th spot. I know Phoenix forfeited their thing. We're not going to pick at 6. We just we'll wait till 24.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think that's going to happen. What about a trade?
Only Yzerman could get away with it, though. If there's anybody in the city that could just say, "Nah, we don't want to pick at 6," it's a protest for last year's debacle at the draft. Nah, we're not picking at 6. Only Yzerman is the only person. And maybe Detroit that fans would say, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, Stevie, yeah, great move. Yeah. Screw the pick.
All right, so Art thinks they're taking Jesper Wallstedt, the model / goaltender, at number 6. Okay, I like it.
Right.
I love it. Dan, we'll move on to question number 3. This one is for you. Mandy from Oak Park asked, 2,500 career games is unbelievable for Miggy, but I have to look forward a bit to his next milestone. Do you think he hits another 8 home runs this season to get to 500?
I do, but let's reflect real quickly, since we just a few weeks ago passed the 20,000 player mark for the number of players who have participated in Major League Baseball going back to the 1870s. And Miguel Cabrera is one of 59 to get to 2,500 games, just to give you a little feel for how special that is. You think, well, he's only 59. No, 59 out of 20,000 plus who have played this game going back to the 1800s. So that really was special last night. I mean, of all the milestones he's achieving this year, I mean, that was pretty impressive. So, yes, I actually do think he will get to 500. I mean, it doesn't sound like a big deal since he needed 13 to start the season. It's obviously been a little bit up and down. One of the things to watch, and it was interesting having Lloyd McClendon on, because who knows his swing better than Lloyd McClendon? He was my partner in Chicago for 4 games. And, I mean, again, this guy knows his swing better than anybody. He understands when a guy later in his 30s is cheating to get to the fastball. He said that's not the case with Miguel. The point that he made was, and a point that A.J. Hinch has made, he actually made it on the day that he hit 2 home runs in Kansas City, when Miguel Cabrera starts to pull balls more. Now, this is an opposite of the classic swing, but he likes that ball out over the plate. But teams are pounding him in. And when he starts to pull the ball more and does damages on pitches on the inner half of the plate, then he gets them to move it to the outside part of the plate where he can get that good extension, the good drive, and hit like he wants to hit. Drives to right center field, home run like in Chicago to right center field. So I thought that was an interesting point. He's not cheating to get to the fastball. He's just right now not doing enough damage on the inner half of the plate. Change the scouting report is how he put it, and I like that. Although, all of a sudden teams are going to have to pitch you differently if you start doing damage. And we saw him pull quite a few balls in Chicago. So that leads to, I think we're going to start seeing more production. I do think he'll get to 500, 13 home runs. He's 8 away. I think he'll get there with some room to spare.
All right. I like it. I was just telling Art in the big 3, it's every week it feels like we're talking about a Miguel Cabrera milestone, and they're big milestones. Yeah. So it's really exciting to watch him hit this, and obviously nearing the end of his career, but he's definitely still very, very exciting to watch. And now we'll move on to our 4th and final question of today's mailbag. This is for both of you. Art, you will get to answer first. Jonathan from Taylor asks, the All-Star game voting has begun. Who are you looking at for All-Star nods this season?
Well, I guess maybe the obvious reason would be Eric Haas, right? Isn't he leading the majors in homers or something? I mean, he's kind of right up there. Maybe he's in the home run derby. I don't know. I think, I look at it this way. What would be good for Major League Baseball and what they want to do. I've watched the All-Star game every year since I was a wee little boy, and I used to know like every player, and I was so excited. And interleague play has really destroyed the All-Star game in my book, because this was the first time you see National League players really up close and all that kind of stuff. And but my point is this: is that I watch the game now, and I don't know who half these guys are. I just don't. It's like, wow, who's and they're all young and they're all up and coming. Based on that fact, what would be good, I think, for him, the way he's pitched lately, Casey Arthur Mize has to go to the All-Star game. I think Major League Baseball would love it. I think they would love it. He comes in, I don't know if the game is I don't know if it's in American League City or National League City this year. I can't remember. But him coming out in that Detroit uniform, Casey Arthur Mize as the Tigers rep, if he can continue, I mean, he's got maybe 3 starts before the All-Star game left. If he can keep continuing what he did in May, and that keeps over, I think that he is definitely going to be their All-Star rep.
Well, Casey Mize will be on the mound tonight, Art, so we'll see if he is going to continue that. Dan, what do you think about Art's Mize pick, and do you have anybody else that you're looking at for the All-Star game?
Yeah, that was actually my pick. I mean, 7 starts, 44 innings, 2.45 ERA. Look at the body language in those highlights you just showed. He just dispatched that guy. He's like, yeah, get out of here. I mean, the swing and miss by Carl Lewis and that, he was late on the fastball. The confidence is just growing start by start. He gave up 3 solo home runs in Chicago. They really weren't bad pitches. They were just fastballs that kind of leaked back over the plate. He was pissed that he gave up 3 home runs in that game. So I love the competitiveness of this kid. So yes, I think he is the clear choice. And with all the young talent in this game that will be on display in the All-Star game, you're right. It'll be fun to have a 24-year-old budding ace starting pitcher taking the mound as a starter reliever probably, and to face some of these young kids. I think that would be a great moment for the All-Star game. So to go beyond that, there isn't one particular, I mean, Matthew Boyd was certainly tracking that way. I love giving attention to Eric Haas right now. I mean, come on, 6 home runs and 17 at-bats. I was trying to find a stretch like that. I saw J.D. Martinez one year at 6 and 20, but 6 and 17 for a guy who had what, 2 career home runs before that, 3? I mean, this is really a phenomenon we're watching. I mean, he's not going to make the All-Star game, but what he's doing is really special. I mean, I love tracking home runs that get hit in bunches. I don't remember a streak quite like this. Teams are game planning for this guy now. They know about Eric Haas. My gosh, he's not a secret anymore, and he's still bombing the ball. That was a big first-inning home run in the game yesterday. Give it, Matthew Boyd a 3-0 lead, and the second-inning trouble suddenly wasn't that big a deal. He gave up the 1 run. So, yeah, I love what Eric Haas is doing. I mean, a local kid, there just aren't many in history, right? High schoolers from Michigan who've gone on to wear the Old English D and now produce like Eric Haas is producing. It's exciting.
Yeah, Dan, when you say that J.D. Martinez was the only guy you could find with a stretch like this, and it was 6 home runs in 20 at-bats, I mean, hey, he's in company with J.D. Martinez, and his numbers are even better right now. I think I like that. I think I'm happy that he's in the same category as J.D. in that aspect.
Or a fluke. I mean, yes, he's going to have his ups and downs because there's a fair amount of swing and miss in his game, but I'm telling you, he's made improvements. And there are stranger things that have happened than guys breaking through at age 28. Look at Adolis Garcia in Texas, if you want a pretty good example of another guy who's breaking through with never having gotten a chance and was designated for assignment earlier this year, by the way, by the Rangers. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun to see these guys break through.
Yes, it is, definitely. Well, Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us for the mailbag today. We always appreciate it, and I'll make sure I stop and say hi to you at today's game. So
yes,
we'll be down there.
Be sure to stay high. All right.
I will. Thanks again, Dan.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
See you, Double D.
And of course, a big thank you to Little Caesars for delivering the mailbag. Little Caesars proudly introduces their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. We still have a lot coming up on today's show. We'll talk to the Athletics' Cody Stavenhagen, more Tigers baseball in the future, the very near future. And of course, we'll talk to University of Michigan hockey coach Mel Person, and Tigers pitcher Jason Foley will join Art for the headliner. But right now, I'm going to toss it over to Carly Johnston.
It's time for Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. And today I'm joined by West Michigan Whitecaps announcer Dan Hasty. How's it going, Dan?
Carly, what's going on? It's a big time in the Tiger system right now. We've got so many of these guys in West Michigan. It's crazy. 9 of the top 30 prospects are playing for the Whitecaps right now. I've never seen anything like this.
It's amazing. The future is looking very bright for the Tigers. A lot of standout prospects in the organization, as you mentioned. So I want to touch on a few of them. I handpicked a few that I wanted to bring up, and then we'll see some guys you're keeping your eye on. First up, catcher Dylan Dingler, who was just named High A Central Player of the Week. I know I went through your Twitter tweets, and I know you love this guy.
Well, in my esteemed professional broadcast opinion, hold on a sec. Dylan Dingler is a dude, okay? This guy is unbelievable. Okay, I don't need these, but you get the idea. This guy is a bona fide big leaguer at some point down the road. I've had some comps, and I won't name names on who said this, but I actually had a very, very smart baseball executive throw Lance Parrish's name into the conversation when talking about Dylan Dingler. So, of course, does he have a lot of work to get there? Yeah, of course he does. But this is a guy who could potentially be not just a good player in the major leagues, but maybe one of those building block type of pillars that the Tigers just so desperately need.
Right. I feel like catcher position is a position that the Tigers are really keeping their eyes on in the next few years. And of course, though, we have to talk about the Tigers' 2020 first overall draft pick, Spencer Torkelson, who had a quiet start with the Whitecaps, but seems to be stepping into his own, looking for a promotion, really.
You know, here's what nobody talks about with Spencer Torkelson is that, yeah, he's hitting 250, but he's getting on base better than any other player in West Michigan. And the on-base percentage, if you've ever seen the movie Moneyball, we know the importance of getting on base. And that's what Spencer Torkelson does. He leads the league in walks, or at the moment I believe he's right near the top, but he continues to just find ways to have good quality at-bats. He's starting to hit the baseball much harder. He had 4 doubles last week. He also hit a 442-foot home run. The power is there. He's just starting to learn to tap into it. It's a hard recalibration to go from playing in the Pac-12, which was where Spencer Torkelson was playing a couple of years ago now, but now to be playing against some of the best players in all of minor league baseball, it's like night and day. And it's amazing to see how some of these guys are starting to figure it out. There is an adjustment period, but they're starting to figure this whole thing out.
Absolutely. It's not easy to transition league to league, but he's slotted at 5th in the Baseball America's top 10 overall prospects. Do you think that's a good spot for him to be at?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that's an aggressive ranking, but that's the kind of expectation that comes with being a number 1 overall pick. And I think it's justifiable. I think when you're the first player taken, that's where you need to be. And not only him, but, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but he's got company in the top 10. Baseball America just put Riley Green in the top 10. So now the Tigers are one of 2 teams in Major League Baseball that, according to Baseball America, has 2 of the best young players on the come up in Major League Baseball. But Spencer Torkelson is going to have to work very hard and have success to hold that spot as a number 5 overall prospect. But number 1 overall picks, they have a good tendency to make the big leagues and to have success once they get there. And I think what you're hoping for with Spencer is just that he can be that consummate corner infielder. He can hit you 30 home runs a season. He can drive in 100 runs. And he's a great kid. He's a lot of fun. People don't understand how funny this guy is. I think you guys are really going to have a good time once he gets to Detroit.
Well, I can't wait for that moment. And another guy you brought up in that top 10 list at number 10 is Riley Green, a great outfielder in this organization who has made a few highlight reel saves for the Tigers, whether it be in spring training or just the gameplay he's having right now. Is this someone that we could maybe see coming up wearing an old English tee on his sweater sometime soon?
You know, I don't think it's crazy to believe that Riley Green might be one of the best outfielders in the entire Tigers organization right now. I mean, in just having watched him, people don't realize that he's just 20 years old and he's playing in double A against guys 2, 3, 4, 5 years older. He's one of the youngest players at one of the highest levels of the minor leagues. And if you want to figure out why, Baseball America said, you know what? We had you as the number 23, 24 overall prospect. And you know what? I think that's too low. I think the fact that he's having that success, and this isn't me talking, this is Baseball America. This is them saying, we ranked you too low because the fact that you're having this kind of success at this kind of level is something that doesn't happen often. And it's unusual. But Riley, a super smart kid. And the thing I think I love most about watching Riley play and just listening to him is that he plays solely for his teammates. He's not out there looking for himself. He's not looking there for self-promotion or statistics or, if he goes 4 for 4 and his team loses, he's happy, that kind of player. He's just really all about getting the whole team's goals in mind, and I really like that about Riley. I think that's why he's going to be such a good player at the big league level, because it's not about him.
Absolutely. I mean, the future, like I said, is definitely bright for the Tigers. And speaking of outfielders, I do want to talk about Daniel Cabrera. He's off to a solid start. He has 3 home runs and 121 plate appearances with an 8.3% walk rate against a 19% strikeout rate. So what are you seeing from him? And is he someone who do you think is going to continue to excel at this rate?
So Daniel Cabrera, you mean the former LSU Tiger turned Detroit Tiger? That's why we call him Daniel Tiger. So Daniel Tiger is one of the guys around here that he's a jack of all trades. He's just good. He's a good ball player. Can he hit? Yes. Can he hit for average? Yep. Power, he's got that. We've seen him hit some long home runs already this season. I like his throwing arm. He leads the Whitecaps in outfield assists. I think that's significant. Can he go and get it? Yes. They put him in center field the last couple of games. Parker Meadows has been away from the team, so Cabrera has been getting the call in center field. So I've noticed that. He also leads the team in stolen bases, or he's tied, I think, at the moment. So a little bit of everything. And you need guys like that to win you ball games. For so many different teams, they have guys who are great hitters, and they don't do much else. And it begs the question, when that guy comes to the ballpark that day, and let's say he goes 0 for 4, what value does that player bring your team on a given night? If they don't hit, and that's what they do, what are you bringing to the table? Well, Daniel Cabrera is this kind of player that even if he goes 0 for 4, he makes a diving catch. He throws a guy out. He gets on base and steals a base on a walk or something like that. Just little things to help you win every single night. And those kind of things, they don't take days off.
Oh, no, you can't take a day off in the league. The big leagues, so that's the goal, and those guys don't take a day off. But those are my guys that I wanted to talk about, my players that I wanted to bring up. Who else are you keeping your eyes on?
Well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, we've been, like I said, super lucky in West Michigan this year. We have 9 of the top 30 prospects. That's literally 10% of the Tigers' top 30. I like Bryant Packard. It was a 5th-round pick out of East Carolina. We call him the Packard plant, because he keeps planting balls in the outfield. And, of course, you guys know about the Packard plant in Detroit. But he got off to a good start this year. He ended up getting dinged up. He was a little bit nicked up over the last week or so, but he's back. And, boy, this guy can hit the ball a really long way. Really like watching him. He makes a big ballpark in West Michigan look pretty small. Zach Hess, who's a reliever, just tons of strikeouts, just nasty stuff. He pitched at LSU, another former LSU Tiger, kind of like Daniel Cabrera. I also like Andre Lipsius, who was in West Michigan to start this season, but he got promoted to Double-A Erie, and in Double-A Erie, he's off to a great start. He's kind of like a Johnny Peralta type. He's not going to go diving for baseballs in the stands or taking away base hits up the middle by sprawling out, but you know what? When you hit the ball to him, he makes the play. He's very good at making that routine play, and he's not going to lose you ball games. And on top of it, he's a good hitter. So I'm excited about those guys, and I would say that Jason Foley, who just got the call up to the Tigers, that's somebody that's worth keeping an eye on, as is Derek Hill, because we had him in West Michigan for 3 seasons, and he put the Whitecaps on SportsCenter more than I think they had ever been. He is such a fun watch. I think you guys are going to really enjoy him.
I love it. And I know development is so important in these players' careers right now, but I cannot wait to see them in Detroit. But I do want to talk a little bit about you. Speaking of Detroit, you were at Comerica Park on the mic back in April. What was that experience like?
That was fun. I mean, that was certainly unexpected, and it was a great day. I mean, it was in what the Whitecaps hadn't started playing baseball at that point, so we had this kind of pocket in the schedule, which was unusual because in past years we had started in early April, and the Whitecaps would have been playing a ball game that day. But because the Whitecaps hadn't started until May the 4th, and that was, I believe, April the 18th. No, I actually knew that off the top of my head. Don't let me fool you on that. But it was April 18th, because when you get that call, you remember that call. So, but yeah, of course, I was taking care of my daughter, and we were getting ready for a full day of, I think it was Veggie Tales or something called Little Baby Bum on Netflix. I don't know. But then the phone rang, and I'll tell you what, shout out to our babysitter who dropped everything to get over to our house that day. She's the real MVP.
I love it. Giving credit where credit is due. And I also do bring up the Road to Detroit series. Love that series. When can we expect another one?
Yeah, we're back. You know, it's been a long time. I mean, it's been almost 2 years since we've had the Road to Detroit podcast. And over those 2 years, of course, the pandemic in 2020, no minor league baseball, we had a lot of people. I mean, once a week, I would get the question, hey, when's the Road to Detroit podcast coming back? And I was kind of that emoji, kind of like, eh. So, I mean, you really couldn't do anything about it. But now, of course, because people have wanted this back so badly, and they want to just hear something of hope, something of the potential for what this team can be at the major league level. A couple of years ago, we basically based the whole show around guys like Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal. And now here we are 2 years later, and look what they're doing. So it's up to us in a way to kind of give you tomorrow's newspaper today. And we can talk about these guys, we can tell you their stories, and we can get you excited about what you might have to look forward to at Comerica Park.
Absolutely. Well, there is a lot to look forward to at Comerica Park, and with the Whitecaps especially. Listening to you, thank you so much for joining me on Catching Up with Carly, presented by Meyer. It's been a really informative and fun chat.
Capture some of his energy and get us right. Presented by PointsBet Sportsbook, which is an official gaming partner of the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Red Wings, and Little Caesars Arena. So we're going to have some fun today talking about the Tigers matchup with the Seattle Mariners tonight. But before we do that, Carly, that was great hearing from Dan. I think he might be one of the only guests that actually matches the energy that you brought, and maybe even gave you a run for your money. You had to bring it in that interview.
I know. I was really feeding off of his energy. So, all right, Danielle, I expect that from you guys in this segment for Bet You Didn't Know.
All right. Ooh, let's go. I can do it. I'm pumped up after that one, honestly. Okay. So we're going to talk about the Tigers, who opened up a 3-game set with a win over the Mariners last night. Casey Mize will be on the hill tonight. Art, you named him your Tigers all-star this season. So what could we expect out of him tonight?
Well, Casey Arthur Mize. I almost took Arthur Mize and kind of combined it there. Casey Arthur Mize has turned his season around. He really picked it up in the month of May. He rebounded nicely from a rough start, 4 of 5 quality starts. His the batting average for the opposition was 162. In his last 7 starts, his ERA is 2.45, and his WHIP, which is walks and hits innings pitched, is 0.89. The league average is 135. So, or 1.35, I guess I should say. So I guess what I'm saying is that Casey Arthur Mize has found it. I think, and it's because of his confidence. I remember a couple of shows ago when we had Double D on. The thing I'm on the Zoom calls after the game, or I try to be on as many as I can be. And Chris McCoskey asked him a question when he wasn't pitching very well. And he said, is your confidence shaken? And he said, no, because my confidence doesn't wane on my performance. He's just confident in himself. He has an inner peace with himself. So he has a confidence that's always going to be there. So if he has a bad outing, okay, he chalks it up. It was a bad outing, or as Double D just said, he gave up 3 home runs in Chicago. He was PO'd about it, but he keeps going on and on and on. That's why he's going to be a great pitcher. That's why he's destined to be one of the aces of the staff. I'm not, Scooble 2 is going to be pretty darn good, and hopefully Manning can get it together. I'm just saying that about what I like about Casey Arthur Mize is the fact is that he's balanced. He's level. He has confidence. He figures it out. He knows, okay, this pitch isn't going, but he still goes to it in certain situations. I mean, he's put together really, really well. I mean, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. And I think we're seeing it now. And I would be stunned if he doesn't keep building up on this. The thing we're going to have to watch out for with him is how are the Tigers going to limit his innings? What's going to happen there? So we'll see.
Yes, Casey Mize on the mound tonight for the Tigers, but then we will also see Chris Flexen getting the start for Seattle. We didn't see him when the Tigers played Seattle back in May, but we're happy to welcome to Comerica Park because in his 4 starts on the road this season, he's had an 8.10 ERA, allowed 32 hits in 20 innings. Pitched with opponents batting 372 against him. So as you can tell from those numbers, we're looking for the Tigers to get on the board early because when Seattle's trailing, their pitching kind of struggles to keep them in the games, with the Mariners being in the bottom 2 teams in the AL with a 5.50 ERA and 2.61 opponent batting average. I know a lot of numbers here. Their bullpen took a big hit with Kendall Graveman out due to COVID protocol. But he won't return until after the Tigers series, but Graveman didn't allow a run in any of his 14 appearances this season. So the Mariners bullpen, we'll see what happens with that.
Carly, speaking of the Mariners bullpen, that I have to shout out local product, graduated high school with him, Anchor Bay, class of 2012, Anthony Misevich, a left-handed reliever for the Seattle Mariners. So he's also a Michigan State alum, so he's obviously really, really, really cool on top of being a great baseball pitcher. Yeah, so he's great. And it was really cool. A lot of people that I went to high school with were at the Tigers game last night to see Anthony at Comerica Park for the first time. So it was really fun to see all the Snapchats and Instagram posts of him being there. And I'm really excited to see him there tonight and tomorrow too. So very, very cool. I just have to make sure we give him a shout out. And while we're talking about local products, we've been pumping up Eric Haas all show long, and rightfully so. The kid is absolutely on fire, and I shouldn't call him a kid. He's absolutely on fire. He went deep last night and has been red hot in his last 7 games. He's got 6 home runs, 13 RBIs, and batting .375. One stat that's eye-popping from Haas, though, this season is that he's hitting .381 with 4 home runs when he's ahead of the count, and is batting .323 with 4 home runs when he's behind in the count. So great stuff from the hometown kid this season. We know he went to Dearborn Divine Child, and he's been working his way up to wear that Old English D really his whole life. And it's so cool. You heard Dan Dickerson talking about it. There's not many players that can actually do that, be a local product and play for your local team. So it's really, really cool. And Art, I know Robbie Grossman is another player that we've been keeping our eye on all season.
Well, right, and I want to get back to Casey Arthur Mize here because Seattle. Another reason why he should do so well is that Seattle is hitting a major league worst 208. And they only have like 2 power hitters in their lineup. Mitch Haniger, who has 1 home run in his last 15 of games, and then Corey Seager's the other guy. He's hitting 155 with 2 homers, 20 Ks in his last 15 games. So everything is aligning pretty well for Arthur to keep going tonight. So I'm really happy about that. Robbie Grossman, look, guy's a professional major league hitter. I love him in the leadoff spot. Even if he's not hitting, he always seems to get on base. He broke out of his slump last night. He was on base 3 times, including 2 doubles. If Robbie Grossman can, continue to provide a high on base percentage and get up there and chip in some good key hits like he usually does, and and draw walks and just get on base. If he can continue to do that, especially in that leadoff position, that's going to bode very, very well for the Tigers. So, again, baseball's a game of slumps, quite frankly, a lot of times. And it's when can you break out of that slump? Robbie Grossman appears to be – he broke out of his slump. That's good news for Detroit.
That is good news for Detroit. And while we're dishing out the shout-outs, I also want to give a shout-out to Derek Hill He took over in center field and went 2 for 3 with a stolen base, which I love to see, and his first career RBI, which we all love to see. And, he told us right here on Wow last year that he knew he had to hit to make it to Detroit. So we're happy to see him swing that bat while it's really working out for him. And congrats to him on his first career RBI.
Yeah, it was a great game last night. As you can see, we have a lot of shout outs in this edition of Bet You Didn't Know. That's a good sign. That's a good thing. The Tigers off to a strong start in this series. So hopefully they can continue that tonight. As we've mentioned a couple of times, Casey Arthur Mize will be on the mound, hoping he can continue his success into this month. Game time is 7 p.m. tonight. And of course, you can catch that on Valley Sports Detroit, or you can, and of course, hold on a second, gather my thoughts here. Catch the pregame show too is what I was getting at. Of course, listen to Double D on 97.1 The Ticket as well. So we're excited. Tigers taking on the Mariners again tonight at 7 p.m. A big thank you to PointsBet for presenting Bet You Didn't Know on the Word on Woodward. PointsBet is the faster and easy way to bet on sports. When you bet with PointsBet, an official sports betting partner of the Detroit Tigers, you get faster bets, faster withdrawals, and faster rewards right at your fingertips. Download the PointsBet app now and use code TIGERS to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-270-7117. And now we're going to move right along and get into Let's Socialize, presented by AAA. Of course, Carly is going to stay with us for this one, and she has been all over both of our teams' social media channels. And I understand you have a lot for us today, Carly, because a lot's been going on.
That is right. I know it's the Red Wings off season, but they just had the IIH off Worlds, I should say. And as we know, Troy Stecher won gold with Team Canada. Huge congrats to him. So he was able to post a picture of him celebrating with his teammates, and none other than Michael Bublé commented on it. Amazing, bud. We're all so proud of you guys. That was just one guy that wasn't expecting to comment on Troy Stecher's picture. But, Canadians stick together. So, again, big shout out to Troy Stecher and Team Canada. Really wish it was Team US, but they were able to come home with that bronze. And speaking of Detroit,
I was just going to say, before you move on, I know everyone has had to have seen this already, but his setup in the game against Russia to upset Russia in overtime, you guys see that move he made to make the pass over? Oh my gosh, it was stunning. I was like, Troy Stecher, you're going to have to bring that over to the Red Wings next season.
Go ahead,
Art. He was trying that move in practice, and I can't remember the assistant coach, but it's a former NHL player who told him, you should try that in a game. Little did he know he was going to try it the next game in overtime, but it was a brilliant move. And Canada. Also in Carly's little thing there, did you see Robbie Fabre liked that Instagram? But I did not see Dylan Larkin, which makes sense because Dylan Larkin is Captain America.
I cannot. Sure. Anyway, speaking of world, we also saw another player in the Detroit Red Wings organization, Moritz Seider, get some great praise. He was able to play for Team Germany, and he got the Best Defenseman award. So he was voted Best Defenseman and voted to All-Star Team. And this guy is just killing it. No matter what league he plays in, no matter what tournament he plays in, no matter who he plays against, he is just getting accolades left and right. So we'd love to see that from Mo. Cannot wait to see him in a red and white sweater with a winged wheel on his chest. I have to say it.
Yeah, Art, are they sending him to Antarctica anytime soon? Isn't that what it was? The next step, he's got to go play in the Arctic League, and then maybe he'll have played.
Yeah. Reykjavik, Iceland has a team. That's where he's going to send him next. If you can make it at Reykjavik, you can make it anywhere, Mo. The way I look at it is, at this point, with everything that he's done, with everything he's accomplished, every place he sends, he's the Swedish defenseman of the year. He's the best defenseman at the World Championship. He's first team All-Star. If he does not make the Red Wings coming out of camp and be a significant impact player, and I think he will, I am going to have to seek counseling for major depression, because I've got Mo Seider built up in my mind. As you know, like I said, I would say, how they have the red carpet? before the start of every game. And next year we should have fans. And, we're always out there talking to the players. Carly, you're out there talking to them as they're walking the red carpet. And Danielle and I are up on the stage with Eric. And we're, hey, yeah, well, an interesting thing about, so-and-so. And, I mean, it's just a great time.
Great picture you just painted.
Mo Sider, from what I understand, is literally going to start in Windsor and walk across the Detroit River to down Woodward Avenue all the way to Little Caesars Arena. That's how good he is. He's divine. I can't wait.
Divine, that's a good word.
If he's walking on water, he definitely has something going.
Yeah.
That hair helps.
No, the hair's the best. The hair.
Another divine human being that I want to talk about is Ken Cal. He's a regular on the Word on Woodward, and he tweeted a memory that he had when the team was in St. Louis, and it says, quote, National Health and Fitness Day, which was June 5th. In 1997, the team was in St. Louis. I was checking out of the hotel, and the lady said I had a $35 charge for the fitness room. I said, look at me. Does it look like I use the fitness room? And she looked at me and said, you have a point. She took off the charge. See, I mean, some of those road memories, those stories are the best. He wasn't even at the rink yet, and I feel like that was funnier than probably anything that had happened that day.
Well, Ken Cal, I think he's fit. I would have guessed he used the fitness room.
Yeah,
maybe
right?
He's not
Ken was just trying to get that $35 charge off.
Kenny, one time Dominic Hasek had like a line of activewear. Like fitness clothes and all that kind of stuff. And so Ken and I went to Birmingham to interview him for like an Inside Hockey Town segment. His store was in Birmingham. And so we asked him, we said, hey, Dom, I mean, how about clothes for me and Kenny? What do you have for us? And he looked at us and goes, they're for active people. They're for active people. Meaning that he didn't have anything that was quite going to be a Ken and my size. Kenny and I have never forgotten about that. We still laugh to that till this day. For active people. My clothes are for active people.
Well, speaking of active people, someone who has really been hitting the gym and doing his due diligence is Miguel Cabrera. And as we've mentioned earlier on in the show, Miguel Cabrera, I almost said Miggy and Miguel Cabrera at once. Miggy just played his 2,500th game. A huge congratulations to him, the 59th player in MLB history, which is outstanding. I mean, that sounds like a big number, but when you really think about how many players have been in this league over the past how many years, that's incredible.
It really is. You heard Dan Dickerson talking about it earlier. He said that they just eclipsed the 20,000 mark for how many players have played in Major League Baseball. So he's in a category of 59 of 20,000. Do that percentage. I can't, that's not math, not my strong suit.
And look what he's done. He's close to 500 home runs. He's close to 3,000 hits in 2,500 games. Now a little bit more. I guess he's played a few more. So, I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Fame player. I mean, there's no question about it. At one time, and, he's kind of getting back there a little bit because he's starting to get some pretty key hits for him. He's must-see TV. He was every time he was up to bat, he could do something. I mean, he was that good, won the Triple Crown. I mean, Miguel Cabrera has been a great, great Detroit Tiger and a great baseball player.
That is. Danielle, really the math?
It's like 0.005%.
Well, there you go. Math lesson with Daniela Bruce. I gave you guys some great media.
How did you figure that out?
Hasek.
You're supposed to do right. I'm doing it right. 59 over 20,000, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, equals. Oh, I did it. I did do it wrong. Hold on. 59 divided by 20. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I think I typed in. All right, wait. Move it 1, 2. It's 0.295%. Well, it's 0.295. Because you got to move the decimal point 2, right?
So that's it for Let's Socialize. Thank you.
All right, this is not math class with Daniela Bruce. Whoever's watching out there, if you can find the correct percentage number for me, just put it in the comments or something, because that's how I do my math. I get it from other people. All right.
That was good. That was a good segment.
That was a fantastic segment. That was a brain teaser for us.
Really.
This is why I was a journalism major in college, everybody, okay? Don't hold me to that. I fully admit I have no math brain at all.
If you were entertained by that, remember, next week, Daniela's going to try her hand at fractions. So I can't wait.
I can do simple fractions. 59 over 20,000 is a pretty weird fraction. All right, whatever. We're moving on. Thank you, Carly. That was awesome. That does it.
Great job, Carly.
A big thank you to AAA for presenting Let's Socialize. AAA says thank you with free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. And now we're going to get into Brush Street Beat, presented by our friends at McLaren Healthcare. Today's guest is Cody Stavenhagen of The Athletic, a great friend of the show. Cody, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Now, I don't know if you could just hear me trying to do a Miguel Cabrera math problem, but how are your math skills?
Not very good. I hope I'm not on the spot. I only caught the tail end of whatever kind of math we're trying to do.
I won't put you on the spot then. We'll just move right past that. But I guess we'll open it with talking about Miguel Cabrera, who hit 2,500 career baseball games yesterday. And it's just been outstanding to watch. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And the math problem had to do with the fact that he is only the 59th player in MLB history to do so.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's important to remember all year that we are witnessing history, even though this is kind of the tail end of Miguel Cabrera's career, even though he's not, the Triple Crown MVP winner he once was. We're still having a lot of special moments pretty much anytime he puts a ball in play. Like the team likes to joke about, they're collecting the ball. It's being saved or given to Miguel for his collection or auctioned off or sent off to Cooperstown or something. And also over Miguel's last 99 at bats, he's actually hitting the ball a little bit better. I think he's got 3 homers. His average is in the 260s over that last 99 at bats. So he's started to become somewhat more productive. I'll definitely be interested to see if that carries on, into the next 99 at bats.
Cody, when you talk about Miguel, and obviously, we all get older, and he likes the ball over the plate, and it looks like the high hard one inside is really difficult for him to handle at this point, whereas before he could handle every pitch that was thrown his way. What can we legitimately, I know this is a difficult question, but what can we expect from Miguel Cabrera at this stage in his career?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is we've seen 3 or 4 years now where this is kind of the Miguel Cabrera we're going to get, a guy who's, no longer an above replacement level designated hitter or first baseman, a guy who's probably not going to hit 35 home runs or hit 300, but a guy who every now and then can get hot, can still drive the ball with some authority, put up some good at bats, and when he homers, it's still special, especially now as he chases down 500. But like you mentioned, I think the biggest difference is Miguel used to just be a fastball killer, one of the best fastball hitters in the league. He just doesn't get around on that pitch anymore. Last year, I think he started trying to overcompensate for that, and so then he struggled against breaking balls. And that changes the dynamic of who he is as a hitter. The reality, he's probably going to continue hitting in the middle of the Tigers order because it's not like there are a ton of other established power threats. I think the name Miguel Cabrera still brings a certain level of presence that can almost justify him staying in that 3 or 4 spot unless someone else is really producing better. But this isn't a new development. Miguel Cabrera, really since 2017, this is just kind of the player he is, a guy who every now and then can do something special, but definitely, a slugger kind of in the twilight of his career.
Cody, you talk about us witnessing history with Miguel Cabrera. Are we maybe witnessing history with Eric Haas, local kid wearing the English D now? He's got 6 home runs in 6 games. And I know you don't want to get too high because baseball's streaky. He's probably going to come off of this high. But is what he's doing sustainable? Is he going to be a solid MLB player?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different definition of history than we're talking about with Miguel. But if you're a Tigers fan, just like with Akil Baddoo earlier this season, like this is a stretch you're going to remember. You're going to talk about in 10 years. Hey, remember when that Eric Haas guy came up and homered 6 times in 18 at bats? Remember when he hit 8 homers in his first few big league games? And the power to some degree is sustainable. Go look at this guy's minor league stats. He was crushing 20 plus homers a year in the minors every season. Now, can he really hit for average? Can he, continue to slug this well once pitchers adjust to him? I think that's definitely an entirely different question, but I think this guy does have the profile of a power hitter, a guy who can continue to put some balls in the seats. I mean, just watch him swing. He really drives off that front leg, stiff front leg, generates a ton of torque, a lot of power. So I think the bigger thing, can he hit for average? What happens as he continues to face more spin? And how does he hold up defensively behind the plate and even in left field? I think one of the funniest things, Eric Haas is actually like the 4th fastest player on this team if you look at StatCast metrics, and he doesn't have the build of a speedster. We kind of laughed when he first got put in left field. Eric Haas moves pretty well, and I actually think that's kind of encouraging for him going forward.
Well, I think that's probably due to him roaming the mean streets of Westland, Michigan, as a youth. I live on the Livonia Westland border. I grew up there too, boy. We did a lot of running. But with that said, I really want to ask you. Cody, the big question was who's going to catch for the Tigers? Before Wilson Ramos, and now it seems they have like an abundance of catchers. How is that playing out? I mean, I think it's a good decision that they have to make. But I mean, if Haas keeps it up and, Jake Rogers, the guy, literally he throws people out when he's lying flat on his back. I mean, it's amazing that I don't know what that says about the catching position, but how at the end of the year, who are the Tigers catchers, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll see how it shakes out from here, but I wonder if we don't, for the most part, see Haas and Rogers for the rest of the year as long as they're productive. Now, granted, that's going to depend a lot on their bats, but I think they've definitely been defensive upgrades over Wilson Ramos, and Haas and Griner probably at a pretty similar level, although we've seen Haas just do a really nice job calling games, pitch sequencing. He caught Spencer Turnbull's no-hitter. So the Tigers will have to face some tough questions as Grayson Griner begins to come off a rehab assignment with Wilson Ramos rehabbing down in Lakeland. But at this point, it's kind of tough to justify. Look, we've seen a lot of Grayson Griner. Can you really justify sticking him in the majors over an Eric Haas right now? Or does it turn into one of those deals where it's like, oh, Grayson, are you sure you're not still a little sore? Are you sure you don't need 2 more days in Toledo? And things kind of drag on. Catchers can get hurt. These guys are both going to face a lot of physical tolls. I'm definitely interested to see what happens with Wilson Ramos, obviously a proven hitter, a guy who has some ability, not very good behind the plate, and now he's dealing with this back injury that has him out down in Lakeland. Seems like one of those things that could turn into to a longer-term thing where we don't see him for a while. I don't know that for a fact, but I think especially with Haas and Rogers playing so well, it justifies giving these other guys time to make sure they're really at 100%. Jake Rogers is the guy we talked about all offseason. How is he going to fare? He really has proven he can be the guy defensively. He started to live up to that billing. I think he really worked on the little things in spring training at AJ Hinch and Josh Paul's suggestion, and it's made a difference. And he's been able to hold his own somewhat with the bat. He's still going to have to do a little bit more to prove he can hit at this level. But again, when you compare him to Grayson Griner, I think you see a lot more upside right now with Jake Rogers. And I at least hope we continue to see the Haas-Rogers tandem into the summer and just see how it shakes out from there.
Cody, we had some fun with Dan Dickerson talking about who he and Art thought would be in the All-Star game for the Tigers. And of course, Eric Haas's name came up. I don't know if we were dead serious about that one. Of course his name came up. And the serious pick was Casey Mize. What do you think? Who would the Tigers All-Star be?
Yeah, I think your best bet is probably a pitcher. I think Casey Mize, obviously, you just look at his ERA, what he did in the month of May, and the fact he's a top prospect, he's going to have a legit shot. I think Spencer Turnbull, who also has pretty good numbers, who's thrown a no-hitter, could end up having a very good case for an all-star bid. If you look at position players, it's going to be a little bit tougher. I think Jamer Candelario and Robbie Grossman have both been very productive. But when you look at the rest of the league, you especially dive a little deeper into the power numbers, I'd probably be surprised if any Tigers position player makes it. Now, if Eric Haas keeps homering, every third at bat, maybe it'll be a different conversation. But he's probably a long shot. I like a pitcher. I like Mize or maybe just Spencer Turnbull with a no hitter helping get a little more name recognition out there.
Cody, this is a very unforgiving game. I mean, we just talked about the great Miguel Cabrera being in the twilight of his career. And I'm just wondering, because I go back, and I brought this up earlier in the show about Jacoby Jones. I mean, here was a guy that when he got hurt, a couple of years, really bad luck, came back and just, I don't know if it was 2 years of injury, just didn't seem to be the same player. I know AJ Hinch was very, very complimentary towards him and said this doesn't mean that he can't work his way back up. What do you think the future holds for him in the Tiger organization? Because I believe he cleared waivers, right? I thought he did, but how's that playing out?
Yeah. Do we have definitive news on that today? I was at the gym this morning. I don't know if he's cleared waivers or not.
I've been checking. No, I've been checking. I have not seen he was claimed, so I'm just under the assumption, which I guess I shouldn't do. But that to me, that's kind of a sad story, But
we'll know soon if he remains in the organization or not. I think there's a strong chance he will. He is one of those guys who kind of has just enough talent to catch the eye of another team, but he's due $2.65 million. I believe any team that's going to pick him up would have to take on that salary. Now, Jacoby could decline an outright assignment because he has more than 3 years of service time, but he can't decline that assignment without collecting his money. So I think there's a strong chance we see Jacoby come back in Toledo so he can get the remainder of his salary. He'll stay in the organization. He won't be on the 40-man roster. If that happens, it's interesting. It's not bad to have him still in the organization. I think ultimately the fact he was DFA'd is kind of a signal the Tigers are ready to move on, to get deeper looks at Derek Hill, maybe Daz Cameron, Akil Baddoo, some of these younger guys, because Jacoby Jones, for as much potential as he has almost 1,200 major league plate appearances. His batting average is in the low 200s. His career on-base percentage is 275. He's been a really streaky hitter to the point I think it almost makes him tough to evaluate, because he's had these 3-week stretches where he's hitting 330 with 6 home runs and he's playing great defense, and he looks like an all-star caliber player. But when you really look at the broader sample of his career, there's just too much swing and miss, too many strikeouts, too many valleys, and not really enough peaks. I'd be interested to see if his speed, if his power potential could catch the eye of another team. But I think it's important to remember, I think sometimes we're blinded by Jacoby maybe just because of how good he can look on the highlight reel or how good he looks when he's going strong. But the bottom line is this guy's played a lot of baseball now. There's a pretty big sample size, and he just hasn't quite been the type of reliable, productive player you need at the major league level, especially if you're talking an everyday center fielder.
Cody, Isaac Paredes also got the call up in the absence of Jeimer Candelario, who, of course, we wish the best. He was out for a bereavement. We don't know how long he'll be out. So Isaac Paredes gets an audition, basically. Do you think not only the fans are excited to get a look at him this season, but the organization is excited to see what he brings to the table?
Yeah, this is another guy we've been talking about since spring training, and I think one of the guys I'm most interested to follow this season. Chances are he's probably only up here for a few days until Jeimer Candelario returns, but if he really makes an impression, there's always a chance the Tigers could shuffle the roster around another way. I know AJ Hinch really likes Paredes. I know the organization has high hopes for him. I think the big thing is he has to start showing he can drive the ball with some authority. He's really proven he can do the little things right, that he can handle not just third base, but definitely second base, maybe even a little bit of shortstop. He did all 3 of those positions in AAA. Started off slow with the bat, then picked it up. He still has this great plate discipline, a good feel, good instincts at the plate. But he has to start barreling up the ball. He has to start driving it for a little bit more extra base power. He didn't do a ton of that even in Toledo, so can he do it at the MLB level? I think that's what he has to do to stick, and I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up needing a little bit more time in AAA. But we've got the sense for a while now that Paredes is this guy who's just right there on the precipice, and you need a little more experience or a few more at-bats or just something to click, and this guy could become a really good player. Like we've seen kind of with the Jeimer Candelario over time. I think that's, kind of a developmental track, if not a faster one, that the Tigers would like to see for Paredes.
Cody, follow me on this last question, because this concerns AJ Hinch and what kind of feel you have for him if you have for him as a manager. Craig Monroe tells this story when they were both teammates in Toledo. Craig Monroe was feeling sorry because he wasn't in Detroit and didn't run out a ground ball. he immediately got back to the dugout, and A.J. Hinch let him know about it. Craig Monroe said it was, a cathartic almost. I mean, he really changed his outlook in his career, and points to that as why he became a major league ball player, was that moment. I've watched A.J. Hinch in these Zoom calls, and I've asked him a few questions. I interviewed him here on Wow right around Christmas time. But my question is that he seems very direct. If you're asking him a question, and not that he doesn't like it, but he'll answer it before you're done asking it. I mean, I kind of find that refreshing. And I think that why he's able to relate to these players is that there's no BS about him. I mean, I think he puts his arm around them, but he also tells it like it is. I mean, is that the feeling you're getting? I really think the Tigers have a real find with him as manager.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the things that makes A.J. Hinch special. Robbie Grossman's talked about it, who played for him on the Astros in 2015. He said he's the best communicator I've ever been around in this game. And, just in terms of his media savvy alone is very, very interesting. And I appreciate his directness. You're right. Sometimes it can be an uncomfortable question, or maybe a question he doesn't like, and it doesn't turn into like a ripping. It's just a very like straightforward, here's what I think, here's what I feel about that, which is, I feel like I try to communicate like that in real life. And sometimes people are like calm, like, I don't know. So I feel like I relate to A.J. Hinch. I like the way he communicates. I think he's learned that over time. You can look at his track through his career. When he managed the Diamondbacks, he was a young manager. He'll say he was almost trying too hard to be managerial, and he didn't really have the respect of the clubhouse. And then he went to Houston, and he was able to be himself a little more. But we know what happened with the sign stealing and all that. I think that taught him even more how important it is to be upfront, to communicate every single little detail. So I think both of those experiences have molded the manager he's become here in Detroit. And that's made him a guy who has learned through experience to just be straight up. And I think players, look, they have a lot of coaches. They have a lot of people in their ear telling them different things. Sometimes, A.J. Hinch has a different style than Jim Leland, but Jim Leland was known as, a straight shooter, as straight as it gets. And I think when you start talk about just coming from a place of being honest, I think A.J. Hinch is very similar, and I'm sure players appreciate it.
Cody,
real quickly,
go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, is Chris Fetter real, or is he a hologram? Does he ever talk? Have you ever talked to him?
I have not talked to him since he has had a Detroit Tigers hat on his head. I was lucky enough to do a big story on Chris when he's at the University of Michigan and get to know him and even keep in touch with him a little bit. Unfortunately, AJ being such a effective communicator, he likes to have the one message thing to where we don't really get to talk to the assistants in public. But I can confirm Chris Fetter does exist. He's not a hologram. I mean, I guess he could be a hologram projected on TV. I have not talked to him since he's wearing a Tigers hat, but the person Chris Fetter, he's real. And seems like he's a really good pitching coach, too.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
All right, Cody. Well, and just so you know, if you ever want to be straightforward with Art and I, we can totally handle it. So we'll never judge your personality.
Right.
All right, I appreciate it.
Thanks again, Cody.
All right, Cody. Sounds good, guys. Have a good one.
Of course, a big thank you to McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on The Word on Woodward. The Tigers are actually partnering with McLaren Healthcare and Meyer this week to host a free COVID-19 vaccination pop-up clinic at the Fox Theater in the District of Detroit. The clinic will open through this weekend series against Chicago. Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson vaccines will be available. Fans receiving the vaccine will also receive a voucher for 2 tickets to a Tigers game either that day or an upcoming game in 2021. Of course, a regular season game at Comerica Park. And of course, you'll get a $10 Meyer coupon as well. The pop-up clinic will open 3 hours before first pitch of each game and operate through the 3rd inning or 1 hour after the game begins. Interested fans are encouraged to schedule an online appointment in advance or by calling the McLaren COVID-19 vaccine hotline at 810-344-4050 between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Walk-ups will also be welcomed, but scheduling in advance is highly encouraged to ensure more availability. And now we're going to switch gears a little bit and get into some hockey news. Now, it's not specifically Red Wings, but we know that the NHL entry draft is right around the corner. And it just so happens that a few of the top prospects in this draft also happen to be Michigan Wolverines. So here's a very special edition of Downtown Hockeytown. It's time for Downtown Hockeytown, presented by Labatt Blue Light. Today's guest is Mel Person, the head men's ice hockey coach at the University of Michigan. Mel, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We are really excited to have you.
Well, thank you for having me on. I'm really looking forward to the conversation we have, and always excited to talk about hockey.
Yeah, and there are so many different conversations that we could have with you right now. A lot going on between the NHL draft, the IIHF World Championship that just wrapped up, a lot of exciting times at the University of Michigan. But I'm going to start with a bit of a general question, Mel. You've been around college hockey for a very long time, from your playing career to your coaching resume. You're just really around the game in that aspect. And the University of Michigan could have 3, maybe 4 players going in the top 10 of the NHL entry draft this year. And that doesn't happen very often. I just want to know from your perspective, what does that mean for the growth of college hockey?
Well, exciting for college hockey. I mean, you can probably go back 30 years and look at the number of players that played college and then went on to the NHL. There weren't as many, but today there's nearly a third of all NHL players played college hockey. And I think that's a great testament to the game we have and the universities that sponsor college hockey. It's a great sport, and obviously we got more and more players in the U.S. playing, and players coming from all over the world now to play college hockey. So it's an exciting time for our sport.
Mel, let's get into some of those players that I had mentioned earlier. You had the pleasure of coaching Owen Power last season, and it seems like he's the consensus #1 pick in the upcoming draft. Just talk about him as a defenseman. What is he like as a player, and why does it seem like he is that consensus #1?
Yeah, and I made the comment that I've spent 200 days with him on the ice this year, so I've really got a chance to see Owen up close and what he does on a daily basis. And I think that what makes him so special, Danielle, is the whole package, the complete package. He's got size, everybody can see that. He skates extremely well. He's got high hockey IQ. He does have offensive instincts. He's got a great reach. There's really no weakness in his game. I don't know if he has that one strength that really sticks out, but it's because he does everything so very well that makes him very valuable. And then to go along with that is the intangibles, the things that you don't see on the ice, but the things that you see off the ice, and we see all the time here in Michigan. He's a very humble person, extremely hard worker, wants to be the best. He's not interested in being second best. He wants to be the best player, not only on our team, but the best player in college hockey. And he goes about that. He's the kind of guy that is in the weight room when you're not looking, or he doesn't have to be. It's always, what are you doing when nobody's watching? And Owen's got a lot of that to him. So, but just a very good teammate. He's just you could just tell how he fit in on that Team Canada team over at the World Championships and how they accepted him. But Owen is that type of person. He's a guy you want to have on your team, and he's fun to be around.
Mel, just a quick follow-up. You mentioned the World Championships, and Canada obviously did take home gold, Owen Power being a member of that team. How valuable is that experience for a young player like him?
Yeah, just huge. It's he was going over there, and we talked about a lot of just to hope to dress for a game. That was his attitude. Then the second was, well, maybe get a shift in the game. And then obviously, well, maybe get more than a few shifts in the game. And by the end of the tournament, he was one of their 2 leading total ice time players on the team. So you can't put a price tag. You can't quantify how valuable it is to go over there and play in that atmosphere under the pressure that Team Canada has, playing against NHL players and with NHL players. So extremely valuable. And, just going forward, whether he comes back to the University of Michigan, starts his pro career next year, this 3 weeks that he's had is going to really help him.
I know Danielle alluded to the fact that there could be 4 Wolverines, actually 3 that we know of for sure. Owen Power, Matty Beniers, and also Kent Johnson, who we're going to talk about. But that 4th one is a very familiar name to Wolverine fans, and that is Luke Hughes, who I believe, Mel, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he commit to Michigan at 8 years old or something? I mean, I've heard that Luke Hughes is going to be coming to Michigan forever. Obviously, a brother of Jack and brother of Quinn, who former Wolverine, who's tearing it up with the Canucks right now. He is committed. He signed his letter of intent. He'll be in Ann Arbor this coming fall. What can you tell us about Luke Hughes as a player? Because unlike his two brothers, he seemed to get the growth gene, shall I say, in the Hughes family. He's he's a strapping lad of 6'2".
He is, and we're extremely excited to have Luke join our program in the fall. Obviously, you know the genes. He comes from a great hockey family, when the mom and dad both played, and then obviously Jack and Quinn. Quinn was an exceptional player for us here at Michigan, spent the 2 years, and then made a seamless transition in the National Hockey League. We expect Luke to come in here and play a big role for our team. Again, he skates extremely well. He's got good size, handles the puck, likes to jump up in the offensive play, which you need. The way the game's going now, you need those defensemen who can jump in the play and help your offense. And Luke will help our team in that regards. And then he's got the size and some bite to his game. You're right. He is bigger than Quinn, plays a little bit different game than Quinn. You're not going to see him rush the puck maybe as much or possess it as much, but extremely talented young man. And again, a humble kid, but a very competitive young man. So we're excited to have him. We would have liked to have all three of the Hughes brothers, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Hey, that's not bad at all, actually. Not bad at all. And hey, they say Luke might be the best of the 3, so it's going to be exciting to watch him play as a Wolverine come the fall. We mentioned the other prospects that are in the draft prospect mix this year, and one of them is Matty Beniers. That's on the offensive side of things. He's a center. What do you like about Matty? Because we know that the Red Wings picking at 6 could definitely use some offense. I don't know if Matty will be there at 6, but they could definitely use that offense.
Yeah, he's a really good player. The thing about Matty, I think the thing that people see is just a motor. He's always on. He's just moving all the time, plays the game fast, and gets around the sheet extremely well. Very gifted. He can score. He can make plays. He likes to drive the play. He likes to have the puck on his stick. One of the big things with him is he wanted the opportunity to play center here at Michigan. So we were, real open and upfront with him and told him he could, and he did, and he was extremely valuable for us. He plays a complete 200-foot game. I think that's the thing, another thing you really like about him and trust as a coach. He comes in right away. You don't have to worry about his defensive game. In our system here at Michigan, our centers play in the D zone a lot and really have to help our defensemen. He came in, and we really didn't have to tell him a whole lot or teach him that. He was extremely good. He takes that that role very important to play just as well defensively as he does at offense. He might be one of the most complete players in the draft, just the way he plays. Again, he was selected to go play with Team USA over at the World Championships, and that experience for him also, playing with the NHL players, playing against them, will be invaluable. But we're looking forward to hopefully getting him back for a year or two.
Hey, he has the same birthday as Art Regner, too, so we forgot to mention that. So that means he's automatically just a step above.
That's right. He'll remember that forever now, Art, once we tell him that. So
yeah, I'm sure you go, who? What, this guy, that Joker? Let's get to his line mate, who is also a center but moved to wing and really meshed well with Matty Beniers this year. A guy that I say don't sleep on him. That's Kent Johnson. Talk about his game and what kind of player he is.
Well, he's a tremendous offensive skilled player. Very cerebral offensively. His creativity is second to none. I haven't seen everybody that's available for the NHL draft, but if there was a player who has more offensive creativity than Kent, I'd be very surprised. He's a rink rat, loves to be in the rink, likes to be fooling around with the puck and whatnot. And somebody asked me about all these 4 players, and they're all different. Like who would you take number 1 overall? But they're all different type players. And I could see a guy like Kent Johnson in 5 years now, maybe being the best player that comes out of the draft. He's got tremendous upside. He's just got to get bigger and stronger. But great skater, very elusive, very good on his edges. He really got better as the year went on. It took him a while because of the transition to wing. He played center primarily, but we put him on the wing, and he did a real nice job. In fact, at the end of the year, he probably was our most improved player and became even more effective than he was in the first half. But very talented, very skilled, a fun player to watch. It's one of those guys that are worth the price of admission. You want to be entertained, Kent Johnson's going to entertain you.
You know, being an alumnus of the University of Michigan, and I know things can change and whether guys come back or not and all that, but I kind of thinking Michigan's the #1 college hockey team next year. Am I putting way too much pressure on you, Mel?
For the record, I was going to say the same thing, so this is great.
Yeah, no pressure at all. You know, we'll have an exciting team. I'm excited for the future. I'm excited for next year, and really can't wait to get after it. I wish we were starting tomorrow, Art. With this group, whoever we have coming back, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Hey, I'm a Spartan, and I'm excited to watch Michigan hockey in the fall. So if that doesn't tell you that this team's going to be fun to watch, definitely going to be.
Well,
Mel,
the tickets are $30, but for the Sparty, it'll be only 40. So we'll make sure we get
okay, cool. That's perfect. I was expecting 50, so 40 works. 40 works. Happy medium right there.
Yeah, you know, and to MSU people, that sounds like a discount, Mel. So there you go. The MSU discount. You only pay $10 more.
Well, don't be mean to us, Art. Whatever. Mel, I want to end this with asking you, how much NHL playoffs have you been watching?
You know, every night they're on, and usually multiple games. And geez, what was it? Saturday, I got watching. Not this Saturday, week before, I got watching Denmark and Slovakia in the World Championships, and then slid right into the NHL games. So when you're a coach, you're always connected to the game. You're always trying to pick up new things, steal ideas, whether it's face-off plays, power play, penalty killing, how teams are forward-checking, breaking the puck out, whatever it might be. So enjoy the playoffs, the intensity that these guys are playing with right now. So needless to say, I watch probably too much, if you can say that.
All right, well, that's a good answer because we're going to wrap it up, but I have to ask you real quick, who's winning the cup?
Wow. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble with any of our alumni. That's the exciting part. We've got so many University of Michigan players playing in the playoffs, but I got to give you two. I'm going Vegas, Colorado. I think one of those two teams, and I have a lot of friends on all the other teams that work with the other organizations, but we got Max Pacioretty, obviously, in Vegas, and we got JT Compher in Colorado. And those two teams look really good. So can I pick two? I guess I just did.
Sure.
So there you go.
It's always
Yes.
four,
Yes,
so you're right on point for being there with Art Regner.
Definitely.
All right, Mel. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's been great chatting with you, and we're really excited to see what these NHL prospects do and what Michigan's going to do in the fall.
Well, thanks very much, and I hope the Red Wings get another Wolverine.
Yeah. We kind of hope so. I'm just kidding. Of course we do. Of course we do. Thanks again, Mel. It's been great chatting with you. And of course, a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockey Town. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. Another big thank you to Mel for joining us here on the Word on Woodward. It was great catching up with him, and I'm sure he's going to provide us with a lot of insight leading up to the NHL draft. We do want to remind you guys, though, that Tigers tickets for the month of June are on sale right now. All home games in June are on sale. Comerica Park is at full capacity, and as we celebrate Welcome Back weekend against the Chicago White Sox, enjoy fun baseball in a safe outdoor environment. Tickets start at just $10. Go to tigers.com/tickets today. And speaking of the Tigers, one of the newest Tigers joined Art for today's headliner.
Thank you, Danielle. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite, and let's bring in a Tiger pitcher, Jason Foley. Jason, welcome to the headliner. Great to have you on the program. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, your story is one story that I think we can all embrace. I don't know if it's the quintessential American story or whatever, but, you know, never perseverance, never down, never out, always pitching. But let's go back. You're in the Cape Cod League. You're played at Sacred Heart University. You weren't drafted. I don't know if you think, wow, is this ever going to turn out and happen? And lo and behold, because you can throw the heater, the Tigers were interested and you find yourself in the major leagues. Can you go back to that moment? What was that kind of like for you when, you're not really sure, you want to be a major league pitcher, but you're not sure what the future is going to bring?
Sure. Yeah, it was definitely a tough blow not getting drafted, especially since my best friend Zach, who also was on the Tigers. He was drafted that year, so it was definitely tough to deal with. But you just after a couple of weeks, I brushed it off and said, let's just have fun this summer and go back to school and see what happens. And thankfully enough, I got seen by the right place, right time, and everything worked out. So it was, like I said, it stunk, but it all worked out for the better. So,
well, I know it all worked out, but in the back of your mind was what not kept you going. That's not the proper word. But you can throw 95 to 100 miles an hour consistently. Did you know that eventually, somewhere down the road, people were going to take notice of that velocity?
Yeah, I always knew that throwing hard would open some eyes and get me some looks, but yeah. So I didn't necessarily think I would have got signed at the end of that summer, but I just figured if I kept pitching well and working hard, and something good would happen. So whether it was that summer or the next year in the draft, but just like I said, happy it ended up happening and wouldn't change it.
What was that moment like when Detroit comes to you and says, "Hey, look, we'd like you to be part of our organization, our Old English D"? I mean, is it a sense of relief, a sense of accomplishment? Do you feel pride? What was going on?
Yeah, crazy sense of accomplishment. It was pretty funny. It all happened so quick. I woke up one morning and from a voicemail from the scout Jim Bretz, who signed me, and it was almost like a feeling of disbelief in a way, like you never thought it was going to happen. But we got to talking, and within probably 48 hours, I signed a contract. So it really all snowballed super quick, but it was a great moment overall.
You're in the Tiger system. You're starting to progress. You're West Michigan, Lakeland, and everything seems to be going well. And then Tommy John surgery happens to you. Can you explain what's going through your mind at that point? Meaning that you can throw the heater. We all know that, but now you're having Tommy John surgery. What was that whole experience like for you?
Yeah, that was really tough. Obviously, I'd been throwing really well that summer. Got called up to Lakeland, which was high A at the time. Just feeling really good. And then, of course, like you said, Tommy John happened. It was just kind of a mental battle more so than a physical one. I mean, I was out of baseball for over a year, about a year and a month. So I missed a lot of time, and you got to keep telling yourself that if you work hard now and grind through the days of rehab, that it'll all be better and you'll come back. So it was a tough mental battle for me, but I got through it.
Well, forgive me. I don't mean to be corny here, but you're kind of the poster child of perseverance. So when you're going through the rehab of Tommy John, is your biggest maybe fear that you're going to lose something off your fastball? Is that what you're hoping, that your velocity stays the same? Was that what you were actually rehabbing and working towards to keep that heater the heater?
Yeah, I mean, I guess velocity is something that is what sets me apart and makes me kind of who I am. So we were for sure, like, that was a big thing that we monitored on the way back, and that was always something that you want to make sure you have. The off-speed stuff you can always kind of relearn and kind of get used to that again, get the feel for it. But the velo is something that you always want to make sure is still there.
Well, when you're up there and you're starting to rehab and you get on the mound for the first time, are you a risk taker, thinking I'm just going to open it up and see where see where it all is? Or do you kind of ease yourself back into the velo and, do the slider or change up, work on other pitches, some off-speed stuff before you really open up your arm?
Yeah, it's a super long drawn out process. I mean, it probably took about a month and a half to 2 months of bullpens before I threw like an actual 100% bullpen with all my pitches. It started out only fastballs, maybe 10 or 15, and you just kind of build up there and build up intensity and volume throughout it. So it's a super slow process, but I mean, it's all for the long run. So it ended up working out.
Well, I know then COVID hits, and then you're with Toledo last year, and that whatever the heck was going on down there, playing against your teammates, and so you're not on the Tiger 40-man roster. You're exposed in the Rule 5 draft. You're not taken, thankfully. You're not the Akil Badu of another team, shall I say, right now. You pitch really well in Toledo. You're striking guys out. Your innings pitched and strikeouts is impressive. You get the call, but it's not the normal, hey, come on in here, Jason. We got some good news for you. You think you're going in for more COVID protocol. What was that whole experience like for you?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. The staff got me pretty good there. June 5th was when they called me in, and I had thought it was to, sign some document or do some COVID testing stuff because that I had to start retesting for COVID that day. So I just thought, I'm going in to do some formalities and whatnot. And they were all like, they were all being super serious about it, and they held a good poker face. And eventually, they broke the news, and it was pretty crazy. Didn't really know it was coming, but it was definitely a special moment. So they made it worth it.
What initially were you thinking when they finally told you, no, this, hey, COVID's serious, don't get us wrong, we're not making light out of it, but boom, you're going to the major leagues, you're going to the big show here. I mean, did you want to release all kinds of emotion? Did you want to jump up and down, or did you play it cool?
At first, our manager down there he loves messing around with us. So at first I was like, man, are you being serious? And like, he was like, yeah, dude, you're going to the big leagues. And that was when I, kind of got pretty emotional, and, everyone was super happy for me. So it was overall just an awesome, awesome experience.
After you share the moment with your teammates down there in Toledo, what do? Do you call your parents right away? Do you call family members? What was next for Jason Foley?
Yeah, I went back to the hotel and called my parents immediately. They were actually with my brother at the time, so it was actually nice. I just made one call, and they were super stoked. And it was around like probably 1 o'clock. I called them, so they had to kind of get a flight pretty quick because the following game was a day game. So they were kind of a little flustered, but they were obviously super excited.
Once you get to Detroit, they're in Chicago, obviously playing the red hot White Sox. What does AJ tell you, or Chris Fetter? Do they say, look, you're not here to sit on the bench, we're going to use you right away? Were you surprised that you made your debut so quickly?
Yeah, they had nothing but good things to say and supportive words for me, which was obviously really reassuring. I wasn't really too surprised. I mean, he had AJ had told me he'd try to get me in today or the next game. I was just happy I got in the first game and didn't have to wait the whole off day having not debuted. So it was definitely nice to just get the first one, get the nerves out right away, and that was nice.
You get the call. You're on the hill. You look around. You're in that ballpark there in Chicago, the old bandbox thing. And I mean, do you have, and forgive me because, I'm a Detroiter, and I think everybody, this movie's ingrained in all of us, Kevin Costner, For the Love of the Game, even though it was, I guess, took place in Yankee Stadium. But do you have that moment where you start to just look around and think about your parents or think about everything you've been through? Do you allow yourself to soak it in even before you throw your first pitch in the big leagues?
Yeah, I think when it really hit me, I actually felt pretty calm and a pretty normal all day, and then it really hit me once I opened the gate and jogged into the mound. That's when I kind of realized, like, wow, like you're in the big leagues. Everything just felt, it was just a crazy experience. But that's kind of really when I first realized, like, holy, I'm in the big league. So that was awesome.
Now, your parents and your brother were there, as you said. I mean, did you know where they were sitting? Was there moments because, you hit two of the first three batters, although that one hit was the guy didn't even move. I mean, do you calm yourself down and know my family's right here? They have, if anybody, they have my back.
Yeah, it's actually funny you say that. So my parents hit a bunch of traffic on the way in. So they actually got there in the bottom of the first or so. So I actually didn't even know where they were sitting. But it probably for the better that I didn't look at them because they were probably 10 times as nervous as I was. So it's almost probably better I didn't look.
You know, you hit a couple of guys, you get yourself in a little bit of a jam, you're working yourself out of it, and lo and behold, the Tiger Killer himself, Tim Anderson, comes up, and that's the guy you've got to get. You get him on a ground ball with a 99-mile-per-hour fastball. What's going through your mind when you know that Anderson, this is the guy that, trust me, has just murdered the Tigers for the last several seasons?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not the spot you want to get yourself into in your debut, but with 2 outs, you got to just tell yourself, make one good pitch, 1 or 2 good pitches, and you're out of it. So, you obviously know he's a really good hitter, but I trust in my stuff as well. So yeah, I just got to think, make one good pitch and you're out of it, and just happy I made that pitch.
I'm kind of wondering what's going through your mind. I know, the catcher's going to call the game. If whether it's Haas or Jake Rogers or whomever, but when you're facing a premier hitter like that, is it in your mind, me against him? I'm bringing the heat. I'm becoming flamethrower Foley right now, and buddy, you're not going to be able to hit it. What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, it's you versus the hitter every time out there, and I just in a big spot, I figured go to my best pitch, was that 2-seam fastball inside. So I just figured I'd throw some in on his hands and hopefully get him ground out, and thankfully it worked out.
Right, it did. Boy, I just gave you a nickname. Have you ever been called Flamethrower or Flamethrower Foley before?
No, I think you can coin that one. I don't think I've heard it before.
All right, well, I'm going to make T-shirts and we'll split the profits. Okay, I'm sure the Tigers will start marketing it. So you got a little side business going now. With all that said, I really want to ask you. I think one of the best moments that came out of all of this, besides you making your debut, is Zach Short, who has been up and down with the Tigers this year. Obviously a good ball player. They got him from the Chicago organization. He was your teammate at Sacred Heart, teammate like there in Toledo. Can you talk about the Tigers letting him stay so he can see, as you just said, best friends can actually be together and share this moment together?
Yeah, that meant a lot. I mean, it was definitely a nice gesture by AJ to let him stay. Like you said, we've been best friends pretty much since college, since freshman year of college. So it was really special to have him there, and I'm thankful I got to throw in front of him. So it was nice.
Now, does he say anything to you? Because he's been in the bigs before. Does he try to calm you down, or did he offer any kind of advice to you?
Yeah, before the game, before he was heading up to his seat, he was just like, just have fun out there and do your thing, and like, I got confidence in you. So it was always nice to hear that. He's always had my back. I've always had his. So it's kind of nice. Just good words of encouragement there.
Well, I have to ask you, because it does seem to be a trend, at least on the Tigers. I don't know if it is in Major League Baseball, but, Jake Rogers, looks like he should be playing in the 1880s with his look. Your stash is a little more contemporary, if I may say so. But what is it? Are the Tigers going to be known as the mustachioed baseball team? Is this a trend for Detroit right now?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, people always give me a bunch of stuff for me and Rogers for having mustaches, but I just grew it out at the start of quarantine, right when COVID hit, because I figured why not? I wasn't leaving the house much anyways. And I started throwing pretty well with it, so I figured, hey, I'll make it a kind of an in-season look, and it just stuck. I mean, parents probably don't love it, but whatever. I'm having fun with it, and we'll see. We'll keep it for now.
Yeah, so I guess as long as everything's working out for you, that stash is going nowhere, right?
Yeah, it's just a fun look. It keeps things light. I mean, I don't mind it, but I'll keep it for the time being for sure.
All right. Well, Jason, unfortunately, we've run out of time. I could go on, maybe I will start calling you a Flamethrower Foley. And when you're there in Comerica Park and you hear someone screaming that, it's going to be me. But hey, best of luck. Congratulations, really. It's an accomplishment. It's great to have you here in Detroit to wear that Old English D, and many more seasons as a Tiger and continued success. Thanks for joining us on The Headliner.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
That'll do it for this edition of the Headliner presented by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, it is the original light beer, only 96 calories. It tastes great, it's delicious, and it's available for delivery. Daniela, back to you.
Thank you, Art. And of course, a big thank you to Jason for joining the show today. Before we wrap things up, I'm going to bring Art and Carly back because we're going to have a little bit of fun here at the end of this edition of The Word on Woodward. But first, Art, is it necessary to give every single new Tiger that you interview a nickname? Is that like your thing? Do you sit there and think about this before the interview? Like, it's a pretty good one. Flamethrower Foley is not bad, but is this part of your interview process?
No, it just sort of happened. You know, the only time is when Casey Mize told me his middle name was Arthur. I knew that I would never let that go. But no, it just sort of happened. You know, I had no idea that I was going to call him a Flamethrower Foley. But he throws the heater. I mean, he's a real nice guy. Great story. I really enjoyed talking to him. I wish him, of course, nothing but the best of luck. I want to say something. We've been doing that Tiger. Hey, Tiger fans, in case you didn't know, tickets for all June home games are on sale. And if you get a vaccination, you get a pair of tickets, right? I think that's great. I'm fully vaccinated. Can I get vaccinated again to get those tickets? Do you think that could happen?
Maybe they'll just give you a voucher, Art, okay?
But I do want to say this. I think the logo of the heart Band-Aid and then home plate, with the Old English D, I think that logo is excellent. I think it's brilliant in its simplicity. Big props to the art department and the graphics department who put that together. I think it's really, really looks good.
All right. Perfect.
I love it. Well, I have a video to share.
Yeah, do it, Carly. Share it.
All right, the Kalamazoo Growlers. They had a player hit a home run. I'm just going to let it roll. His celebration was fantastic. So he runs the home run, about to hit home plate, and he goes and gets an energy drink, hits it with his cleat, and shotguns it. I mean, come on. If that's not hype, I don't know what is. I had a feeling you would love this video, so I had to show it to you.
It takes me back to my high school days.
High school?
You think they're named a growler? I could drink at 18 in Michigan, although I was not 18 in high school. Let's not go there. I do want to say this. Are they named growlers? Are they named after a bear, or because there's so many breweries on the west side of the state, aren't they named after those big gallon things? Aren't those called growlers too? Should their logo not be a bear but a big jug full of beer?
That's exactly what it is. It is actually a bear, but I get where you're coming from.
I think they were trying to be funny.
I know you do, right? Carly.
They had to, they were being witty about it, right? Like when they named themselves the Growlers. You're being a little witty at that point, right? Like it's actually a bear, but you are from the west side of Michigan, which is filled with breweries. I think it's witty.
I agree with that. I'm pretty sure that most of the people on the west side of the state that are adults and drink responsibly, they weren't thinking of a bear when they heard, oh, yeah, I love the Growlers, man. I love them. That's a good name.
All right, well, let's wrap this show up so I can drink out my growler. So thanks, guys.
Oh, wow. Okay. Show is done. Thank you, Carly.
Carly has pronounced it. It's over. So long.
To all of you for tuning in.
Bye, Carly.
Bye, Carly. Enjoy your growler, even though she definitely slid away because I don't think she can fully walk yet. So that was smooth. Thank you, Carly. All right, you guys, if you missed any of today's show, make sure you can catch up on the Word on Woodward YouTube channel. Of course, we have all of our interviews from today and all of our past interviews on there as well. You can also listen to the show as a podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. The Tigers, as we've been talking about all day today, take on the Mariners tonight with Casey Mize on the mound at 7 p.m. on 97.1 The Ticket, and Valley Sports Detroit will be back with the Word on Woodward next Wednesday, starting at noon, our normal time. So make sure you are tuning in on the Red Wings and Tigers YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and of course, their websites. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll see you next week.